let me take a time out to say a special good morning to all and all listening to Classic Radio. Those of you viewing GBN TV, welcome to the point. Nice to be back with you this morning. It's Tuesday. It's the 27th day of May 2025. Good morning to those of you also via social media platforms, Facebook page, YouTube channels. Good morning. It's a pleasure to always have you here with us on To The Point. And you know, on Tuesdays, it's usually Opposition Tuesdays on the program, and we do have someone representing the opposition this morning here on today's program. And let me say good morning to my guests. Hope all is well in terms of the audio feed and so forth. Let me say good morning to Mr. Nimrod Ollivierre. Good morning to you, sir, and welcome back on To The Point this morning. How are you doing, sir? How are you doing?
Good morning, GT. All is well. Good morning to your listeners out there in listening land. And a special good morning to all those that are already under the live waiting to type the negative things and to attack us, but we are here. And how's life? How are you, GT?
I'm doing good. I am actually doing very well, I must actually say. Doing well. How are you, man? I'm ready to return. How are you doing this morning? From the last time we were here, how are you doing this morning, sir?
God is good. God is good. I'm great. I'm doing fine. You know, out there in the constituency, and you know, I have the little one with me, the 5-year-old, so he keeps me very busy.
All right, all right.
And but it's all good. You know, it's a blessing. I'm blessed to be born in a place as beautiful as the island of Grenada. You know, people pay a lot of money to come vacation there, and I get to call it home. So I'm indeed very blessed.
All right, certainly so true. Let's get the conversation rolling up this morning. You spoke a wee bit, of course, in your intro about constituency. I want to spend a little time with you talking about that in reference. You know, we have seen videos on social media highlighting, you know, several in of course incomplete projects, I would say, in your area. Of course, you ran in that particular constituency the last election, and continue to make your presence of course seen from time to time. Give us of course an update on the status of those projects that whether there's any progress or has been made or since. Of course, I've seen you also feature a lot of these via your social media platform, you know, highlighting some of these incomplete projects. Talk to me a wee bit about that.
Well, GT, as you rightly said, yes, I ran in the last election and I lost. But, you know, I never stopped being in the constituency, because for me, you know, it wasn't about winning. While, yes, I would have liked to have won, for me, it's about service. And the service continues whether you win or you lost. And right now, the service is very lacking. I highlighted some of the incomplete, and there's a lot more incomplete projects in the constituency, because in going through the constituency and talking to the residents, those were some of the issues that were highlighted to me. They basically feel like the constituency is neglected. There's no proper representation, and some of these, well, most, if not all of these projects created employment for persons in the constituency, and so they were able to get a income from it. And a lot of them was stopped abruptly after the NMP lost the election and the NDC administration took over. And, you know, no real explanation, no real dialogue. The MP is missing in action, so you can't even really have a conversation to find out, well, you know, what's going on. So because the complaints and you know, was surmounting, it was getting more and more and more, I thought maybe I should, I would highlight it, highlight some of them, and which I did. It obviously resonated because there was a couple of meetings. Well, there was one specifically in Boca, but even before we get to that, the project in Willis, New Hampshire area, the resident had complained. They called the media in. Both the Prime Minister and the MP went there, held a meeting. That was sometime in 2023. They held a meeting with the resident and promised them stuff was going to be taken care of. The project will continue. There was a drainage problem there, and I showed them that, you know, it will be fixed and so on. That was directly from the residents complaining, and that meeting was held. And to date, we in 2025, nothing. All they did was pretty much where the water was standing, they put some binders there and just kind of fill up that hole by the side of the road. But in terms of real meaningful work being done to the project, nothing. After I did the video for Vendom, about a day or two after that, work started. Some work was done, and the heavy equipment was seen moving, and then that died down. So Vendom playing field is still incomplete as we speak. And the MP held a meeting after I did the one in Boca. The MP held a meeting in Boca Secondary School and promised the residents that work is going to start within a couple of weeks, and they're going to expand the field, and they're going to do this, and they're going to do that. And to this day as we speak, May 27th, that meeting was about 3 weeks ago, maybe a month ago. Nothing has been done. So, the residents are tired being promised stuff and with zero delivery. It's time for, actual stuff to start taking place, and enough with the promises. I don't want to say lies, but at this point, it may very well seem like it's lie. We need action and not promises.
You spoke a while ago about having conversation with, of course, residents within the constituency a lot, and they spoke and described in terms of the unavailability of the MP. Based on those sentiments towards the MP, how do you talk about the representation and of the constituency, to be precise? How are they gauging the MP in terms of of what he's doing in that particular constituency?
It's lacking, and you're talking among a vast cross section of the population in St. George Northeast, young, middle-aged, and old. You hear in one story, we ain't seen the man not around. In order to see the man, you have to make an appointment, and even when you make the appointment, you can't get through. You go there, you wait hours, and you're not able to see him. So again, people feel like they're underrepresented. The upper underrepresented because there's a lack of access. People need help with a lot of stuff. They need resources. They need stuff to get done within their personal lives and at the constituency level, and it's just no availability from the Member of Parliament.
A few weeks ago, I did have the MP that represent that particular constituency that we speak about, and he spoke about a lot about the project that he is, of course, involved in or taking care of, per se, within the constituency. So it's gonna be thinking now, well, what I'm hearing you saying and what the MP actually mentioned in reference to all of that is taking place within the constituency. Lots of work he spoke about, the community activities that he involved in terms of helping the young folks and stuff within the constituency. How do you weigh that out as differ to what you were saying, sir?
What I'm saying is it's just a reflection of what I'm gathering when I talk to the residents and in the community on my visits. So it's one thing to have plans, and obviously the Member of Parliament may have plans. It's another thing to execute those plans. So if stuff is going on, it would be visible, right? So if you're having meetings and talking about these plans and they are not being implemented, then what do we have? So it's one thing to talk about it. It's another thing to implement it. So maybe the implementation rate, that's a word that they like, needs to be uplifted some more so that it would be recognizable. But at this point, I didn't hear the program, so I can't speak as the specific as to what he said. So I'm going off of what you're saying. But no, it's not a true reflection as we've seen taking place in the constituency to date.
Let me also ask you this. The current MP for St. George Northeast was relieved of his cabinet duties last year, reported to pursue studies and so forth. What do you make of that particular decision, and how has that impacted the level of representation and progress, per se, within the constituency?
Well, again, I've always thought that it was not an honest reason given to us by the Prime Minister of this country in terms of removing the MP. I believe that, the constituencies is being underserved because you do need to have a voice at the cabinet level. You do need to advocate for your constituents. That you were elected, you won fair and square, you beat me by a lot of votes, so you won handsomely, which means that the residents put their faith and their trust in you, and so you owe it to them to deliver to them. So by not being at the table to represent them adequately, I think it's a disservice to them. More so, like you pointed out, the MP was relieved of his cabinet duty, so you would think that will give him some more time to focus on the constituency and therefore get some of these projects, completed. Obviously, that's not taking place, so it begs to wonder, what is he really doing? Look, most of us at some point in time, I work full-time. I worked a full-time job and was in school full-time, both for my bachelor's and my master's degree. I had a full-time job, doing a lot of overtime, taking care of a family, and was able to, go to school and excel. So the excuse of, you can't, you can't be in the cabinet because you got to go to school, or you have to go to school, that I thought was not being very honest. And to date, we've yet to see anything where, said MP said, well, yes, I'm in school and I'm doing this and I'm doing that and I'm about to finish and I'm about to graduate. We just had graduation that just went. And, so the service to the constituency is lacking, and something needs to be done both from the MP and from the administrative standpoint.
Of course, Ms. Ollivierre, we drew for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we continue the conversation. It's To The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. We'll be right back. Stay with us, folks. Don't touch it.
Sporting fans, ready yourselves for the most anticipated Winston-Tide games, June 7th and 8th at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Come support our athletes as they compete with some of the region's best in the field events and on the tracks. Save the date, June 7th and June 8th, Winston-Tide games at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium. Stay tuned for more info. Winston-Tide game 2025.
Grenada, the road to greatness continues. Catch the senior men's national team live at the Kirani James Athletic Stadium for 2 thrilling football clashes. Saturday, May 31st, it's a fiery international friendly as Grenada takes on Anguilla, just $20 admission. Then on Wednesday, June 4, it's our FIFA World Cup qualifier versus the Bahamas, $25 admission. Both matches kick off at 7 p.m. sharp. Come dressed, come loud, come proud. Style your national team, bring your posters, and show the world you are the 12th man. Let's pack the stadium, flood the stands, and roar together. Get your tickets now at the official GFA ticket outlets. Go to Fed.com or at the gate. Let's stand proud with Team Grenada. One island, one team, one goal.
Project Music presents Rhythms of Spice. Sunday, June 1st, 3 p.m., Comahan Park. Featuring student performances Alpha One, Cool Jazz Band, Co-op Band Comancheros, Lion Pride Percussions. Project Music with Tira Etienne, Shireen Brizan, Jeremy Hector, Javon Andrew, and Sonika McKee. With special guests, Hickson from St. Lucia. Get your tickets $60 on sale at Grenadian Optical, Art and Soul, Gittins Pharmacy, Grenville, and Go to Fed. More at the door. Children 12 and under free. Rhythms of Spice, Sunday, June 1st, 3 p.m., Comahan Park. Sponsors Co-op Bank, Renrick & Thompson, Hubbard's, Byron Foods, Inter-Caribbean, True Blueberry Resort, Acado Grenada, Gabriel's Rentals, Andrews Construction, Supreme Sounds, DJ Danny, GBN, Boss FM, and Real FM. Absolutely no vending.
Get
Get ready, Grenada. The Maggie King of the Grill is back and bigger than ever. On Saturday, June 7th, Monroe's playing field transforms into the ultimate battleground for grill masters. Think you got what it takes? Then fire up those grills and show your skills. Registration closes Friday, April the 11th. So don't miss your chance to compete for that sizzling prize and bragging rights. It's food, fun, and flavor, all powered by Maggie. To register, call 407-8458. Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules. See you there.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers. To the point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV, Tuesday, the 27th day of May. It's Opposition Tuesday here on today's program. We have representing the opposition, Mr. Nimrod Ollivierre, with us this morning. Mr. Ollivierre, welcome back once again. Welcome back, sir.
Thank you.
I want to get you mentioned previously when we in the earlier segment of the conversation. So you talk a wee bit about the conversations that you have with the constituents as it relates to the economical situation within the constituency and the problems that they are encountering. Elaborate a wee bit on that for me, sir. How are you seeing, or what are you seeing, or what are you hearing, more or less, I should say, on the ground from constituents in terms of the economy is affecting them, per se?
Well, I mean, listen, there's no other way to put it. I get it firsthand, both from being within the constituency and the calls that I get. The type of calls that I'm receiving and the ask that I'm getting in terms of persons reaching out for help, it's telling you that the situation is dire. Listen, part of it is, yes, persons have always reached out, certain persons for financial help regarding certain things. But the calls you're getting now from the constituents, it's more or less, Mr. Nimrod, this is going on. Pretty much, I don't need you to give me the money, but can you go do this for me in terms of helping me get some medication or some groceries for the kids? I mean, it's frequent, and to the point where persons are saying now, I'd rather you give me get the food stuff for me than you give me. I guess the thinking is if they ask you for some money and whatever you might end up giving them, whether it's $100, $200, it probably would not even be sufficient to get enough groceries for them and the kids, or even when it comes to the medication. I've gotten such increase in requests for help regarding medication that it's alarming. Persons that have long-term illnesses where they have to be on a monthly regimen of medication, as well as from persons that may have come down sick and need some medication. So the assistance from the government services as it regards to medication, it's not very forthcoming, and so a lot of persons now have to spend monies for medication, and oftentimes it's monies that they don't have. So in that regard, yes, it's a direct correlation. I'm getting it both on my visits and phone calls from others that I haven't yet seen.
Within the constituency, I've noticed there's a high youth population along with the elderly. What are you picking up from, especially from the youth and the elderly, and what are you hearing from them directly and indirectly?
Yes, there's a very big youth population there, and the youths they're becoming despondent. I'm not saying that under the past administration we had taken care of all the youths and figured out everything, but what I do know is that under the NMP there were a lot of programs that were in place, Youth Biz, Imani, just to name a few, that incorporated a lot of the youths coming out from high school, and so there were things to do. But now what you get is that, guys are just nothing, as they would say, we no paper. So you pass on the block at 12 o'clock in the day, and you could see in certain areas anyway from 10 to 15 youths just sitting idling there. And then when they do get when they do get some a little money, it's one or two things that most oftentimes take place. Is either some alcohol involved, or they might refute to gambling. So it's a problem.
Mr. Ollivierre, let me also ask you this: what do you think needs to be done to alleviate that problem that you're picking up from the youth, especially and early within the constituency, in the broader sense of things right now? Not looking at it on a political level, but what do you think needs to be done to help these young individuals and even the elderly who are having issues within the constituency? What do you think needs to be done? We're not saying that you want to give the present administration advice, but it should go across the board. What do you think needs to be done to help this?
It's not about giving advice. It's about, and it's a great question. It's about we taking care of the society. So first and foremost, I think each and every one of us that's in a position, whether it's clergy, whether it's a leader in the community, we do have a role to play. By engaging these young people and the elderly, we do have a role to play. Government, as we know, cannot do everything. We are aware of that. So the church has a role. The elders in the community, those that are better off financially or economically or otherwise, have a role to play. So it's about engagement, right? We know that the problem exists, and to turn a blind eye to it and to say, well, everything is all right, I think it's a disservice to the community of whole. So in short, each and every one of us have a role to play with uplifting our community with specific goals of helping the youth and helping the elderly that are disadvantaged.
Are you picking up the conversation about the fear of victimization? It's something that we hear lots of conversation about these days. Folks, I don't want to do this because of that, I don't want to do that because of this. What are you hearing? Of course, more people are speaking up about issues, or people are just keeping that down low as it becomes the issues taking place in the constituency. What are you hearing about that, sir?
It's a real thing, and I get calls. I will tell you, I get calls where persons would say, "Hey, this is going on," or that is in, but I can't talk about it because if not so much me, but maybe I have a daughter or a cousin or a son that works in a certain place, and I don't want them to victimize them. So can you highlight this for me? Can you bring it out? Look, I don't have a government job. I don't depend on the government for income. So yes, I will talk up and I will represent the constituents. But yes, there is a real fear among citizens of Grenada, not just St. George Northeast, and speaking out on issues and wrongdoings that are taking place in our communities and our country as a whole right now.
All right, sir. So you're from I understand you're from the fishing village of Grand Mall, and being from there, of course, we know the folks are talking about that the fishing, of course, economy and so forth on that level. Now, being from a proud fishing village, I would say, what are the folks in the village and vending community are telling you these days, sir? And how are these things going for them, especially folks who are in that particular industry?
Well, besides they're telling, I am quite sure you would pass, you're passed by the fish market on a Saturday morning and on a Sunday morning, and what you used to see going on there with the lines and everyone getting their fresh fish, specifically Saturday, Sunday morning. Now, nothing. It's not good. The fisher guys, a lot of the fisher guys right now are turning to other trades. Some are seeking, construction jobs or gardening jobs in, working the land so that they can feed their family. So if there's a drop, and it's not so much to say, well, guys don't want to fish yet. The boat is there, the equipment is there, but they would go and catch the fish, and sometime a fish that, amount of fish that would have taken 1 day to sell, or maybe 2 days most, is now a week later, 2 weeks later, you still can't get the money for it. So a lot of the guys just and that's because it's a drop in the economy. Persons are not spending as much as they used to in the past, and stuff like that.
Let's switch our conversation to, of course, some national issues for a wee bit. One of my questions I want to ask a wee bit. We hear a lot about, of course, our leaders within the government, and so forth, the travel and all of these things that are taking place, the foreign trips per se. What are some of the other broad-based, issues that are facing Grenada, and that you think need to be highlighted a whole lot, besides everything else that everybody else talks about? They talk about the Prime Minister's travel, other issues that are happening locally, as some may say crisis or not. What do you feel are some of the other local issues that we need to, broad-based, that we need to highlight a wee bit this morning, sir?
Well, one of the number one local thing, and I know I mentioned it before, but the economy it's a big thing. It's local, right? The economy affects each and every one of us, whether or not we could afford or we can't afford. Obviously, those that are a little more disadvantaged in terms of affordability, it would affect them more. But even those that can afford, it affects you because you are spending more for the same product. I am appalled that to this point, this administration, the NDC administration, has not put anything in place to ease the burden on consumers. Yes, we know the U.S. administration had talked about tariff, and maybe Grenada was going to be affected, and that was rolled back, which is really appreciated, because that would have been even more catastrophic for our citizens in Grenada. But I think there are measures that the government could take or should have taken to help ease the burden on everyday products: rice, flour, sugar, eggs, stuff that you need to feed your family. And what we notice in the local supermarket is that these prices seems to be increasing every time you go there. And I hope it's checked, but it looks like if it's unchecked, and we have no intervention from the administration to help cushion the cost. And those are that's one of the biggest things affecting our local citizenry, because you are spending more now to put food on the table. Your income is the same, right? Pay is the same, but you're spending a lot more on stuff. Look, let's drive through St. George's Market, and I frequent St. George's. I can't say much for St. Andrews and Sutter's Market or Wharf Market or so, but on a Saturday, you drive through St. George Market like about 12:30, and we know the people in St. George Market come out like 4:35 in the morning on a Saturday morning. But at 12:30, you drive through St. George Market and you see all the vendors there they're sitting there with their hand under their chin, propping sorrow, and all the goods sitting in front of them. And that's 12:30. Things going to wind down in another half an hour or another hour. And sometimes I just buy stuff that I don't need just to give them support. So I'll buy it and I'll give it to a family that I think is need. But I'm just one person that, doing whatever little I can. And it hurts my heart to think, well, what are these people going to do with all these produce, all these products, when they shut down like 2-3 o'clock in the evening? But persons' spending power has been vastly diminished. So yes, the economy is a big thing for me, and I think it's the number one thing that this administration should be putting more and more emphasis on. But rather, we seem to be focused on, other things like Polaris and all of that we are dishing out monies to companies that may be doing well in the United States of America. So we're taking care of other people rather than taking care of our local citizens.
You spoke, sir, in reference to the cost of living to a wee bit in terms of the products, like the regular stuff, the rice and the sugar and the flour, per se, the overall cost of it. Folks may say, well, we are not producing these items here locally. They are imported. And for some reason or the other, government may not be able to have that level of control over the cost because we are not the one actually producing those things. What do you think government could do, of course, to bring those costs, especially to the regular citizens, down a wee bit? What's your take on that, sir?
Well, the first thing they could do is they copy a lot of the stuff from the playbook of the new National Party, because we know that there is no new projects or no new thing this administration has undertaken since coming into government. And therefore, one of the things that the NMP did to ease the burden on consumers was to make the basket of goods, the specific basket of goods that's readily used on a daily basis, pretty much zero rated. So we could start by that. Let's not forget, this administration also promised to remove VAT upon assuming office. During the campaign, that was what was said. I'm still waiting for VAT to be removed, right? I'm still waiting on it, just like every other Grenadian. But we could start by removing VAT on the basket of goods that we consume daily to put food on a table. That will make a big difference.
But what about the impact that will have on the economy, sir? I mean, thinking about removing VAT, we know how it benefits government and to get things done overall. But removing it entirely, moving it on entirely, or maybe downgrading it to the percentage or whatever we want to say, like, how will that affect the economy in some way or the other?
I don't know. Because we could find $2.5 million to pay a company, like I say, for consultation for a hospital that we're talking 15 years down the road. So 15 years down the road is not putting food on the table for Grenadians right now. The issue is right now. So let's start there by taking care of the economy now, right? We could find monies to pay for, I really don't care about the travel and want to talk about the travel. But the point is we find money to do all these things. So maybe if we cut back on certain things and reassess, what you would lose from the VAT would be more beneficial to society, because it's the same VAT money that you're using to pay this $2.5 million and to pay for all these excessive travels and to pay for all the other nonsensical things. The lights on the carronage that was there for among 6 months, maybe less than a year, and then just disappeared. Really? We spend all this money on things so who's doing the thinking in terms of long term to say, well, what will be the benefits? What will be the benefits to the citizenry? Because that should be our focus. The money is not, just like the money was never NNP money, the money is not NDC money. The money is collected for VAT is our money. We're the ones that pay the taxes, and therefore these taxes should be used to make our life better, help improve our lives. That's what it's for. I don't really care too much, or the average man in St. George Northeast don't care that we're paying Mount Sinai $2.5 million annually to help to give us ideas, 2.5 affiliation fee. How is that benefiting my grandmother? How is that benefiting my son? How is that benefiting your son? How is that benefiting each and every citizen in the society? These are the questions that we need to really, really, really focus on. So yes, we would lose some money in VAT by making certain items zero rated, but overall, it would benefit the citizens of Grenada, and especially those that really could use that help right now.
Let me ask you this question. There's a lot of online activity that we've been seeing taking place lately. The videos, the photos, celebrations, per se, that points a picture of the high-performing government. Do you think that actually reflects the actual life experience of the people on the islands?
GT, if it was a high-performing government that was doing the right thing by the citizens of Grenada, then there will be no need for so much videos and highlights from the administration saying what they're doing. Because if it was so impactful among the people would be speaking it. The government would not have to be paying social media persons to produce these videos and paying to promote it and putting it out there. We, the citizens, would be speaking about it, right? If the economy is doing well, if the economy is doing good, people would be smiling and people would know and they would speak of it. But if you're not doing well, people would speak, and the government knows, the administration knows that persons are complaining, persons are hurting, hence the reason why they're doing these professional productions to paint a picture and to make it look like all is well. But the reality on the ground, that's why it's important, the reality on the ground, the reality in the constituency, it's a whole different story.
I have one final question for you before we take a break, sir. The government launched a massive project a few weeks ago, Project Polaris. You spoke briefly about it a while ago. That is aimed to transform healthcare. What are your thoughts on that, sir?
Off the surface, I don't think the government is being truthful to us regarding Polaris. Look, in a nutshell, right? They're telling us that the company, it's an American company that you're going to be using pretty much for guidance in this process. Healthcare in America right now, as we speak, has gone to one. Right now, it's a for-profit entity. Small practices. So GT, the doctor that had his office for 30 years, they are being bought up by these larger corporations right now, right? And that's where this thing is heading, towards, for profit. So the Mount Sinai's and the Northwell Health and all these other big medical companies, they're buying up these smaller practices and they're bringing it and having these doctors work for them rather than you having your own office. So I'm saying that to say, when you look at what the whole overall picture for Polaris, this speaks nothing. To this date, yes, they spoke of it in a broad sense, but it speaks of nothing of how it's going to help the local citizenry. The average person in Grenada cannot and will not be able to afford for the medical services that this new hospital/teaching hospital is going to provide. And yet the administration in their rollout said nothing apart from broad statement as to how they plan and ensuring that medical care would be meted out to the local citizenry, right? That's one. Secondly, medical is expensive, and good medical is very expensive. There's no way of getting around that. Who's going to be paying for all of that? Who's going to be paying? I wouldn't be able to afford it. You most likely would not be able to afford it. So when you put it out there and you're making the citizens feel that, well, okay, it will be free just as though we are accustomed to the general hospital, you're sick and you go in and you're going to be taken care of. That's not being truthful. If you're going to you have the idea, it's a brilliant idea, and it's not about condemning the medical services, because Lord knows we need to improve on what we have. I've been a big advocate for that. I spent a month in the general hospital one time because of an accident that I had here in Grenada, and so I know. And it was under the NNP time. I know that there is issues, and we do need improvement. But we have to be honest with our citizens and let them know everything that's entailed in this undertaking, right? It's a 15-year plan, and yet people are acting. You have the supporters of the NDC making it look like, well, okay, we start this project next year, and in a year time we're going to have. No, this is a 15-year plan. Meanwhile, what are we doing now? So people had to wait 15 years to possibly get proper health care. Why can't we take one of that 1 year's payment, delay your consultancy with Mount Sinai, take that $2.5 million US, invest it in our current hospital, bring medication in, upgrade some of the stuff so that we can improve in the care, right? But going back to Polaris, we talk about a teaching hospital. And, I had to pause and think about it for a minute, having been exposed to the U.S. system and went to school in the U.S. So SGU, which is an American university, is providing about 25% to our GDP right now. So we're talking about a teaching hospital. So now is that teaching hospital going to be competing directly with SGU? And keep in mind, I just said SGU is an American university. Part of SGU's operation for American students specifically is that they get federal funding. Students get assistance from the federal government, right? I know that for a fact. I have family that went there, right? And would had to help them follow the paperwork for FAFSA and federal tuition aid and all of that. Our teaching hospital in Grenada, well, unless we don't own it and unless Mount Sinai would end up owning it, where it would be an American teaching hospital as opposed to a Grenadian hospital. But on the merit of things, if you're saying it's a Grenadian teaching hospital, we won't be able to qualify for that federal aid, that federal assistance. The students that would go there that are Americans, the federal government in the United States of America is not going to pay the Grenada government that money because Grenada is not a U.S. state, right? Then you even hear the argument, not by the government, but some of the supporters saying, well, it's a teaching hospital, so instead of people going to the US and the UK to do their clinicals, they could now do it in Grenada. It's not so easy. It's a reason why the students in SGU go to the US and the UK to do their clinicals, because it is about being accredited. So are we saying that once we build that hospital, it's going to get accredited right away? No, you have to be functioning, you have to be, you have to be assessed, you have to be monitored before you get accreditation, right? So it's not like you're going to build a hospital and right away you're going to be absorbed into the... And another important point is, most of the doctors, right, I forget off the top of my head what the population of medical students are in SGU right now. But which economy is most likely going to absorb these new medical doctors? The US, probably some in Canada, some in the UK. So explain to me, why would they want to do the clinicals and practice in a hospital in Grenada when the whole goal is to go work for a hospital in the US? And we are talking like the American students and the foreign students. Yes, we do have some local Grenadian students that go there, but the vast majority, as we know, are US and other international countries. So you have the accreditation issue, you have the issue where the clinicals. So they stay in Grenada and do their clinicals, and then they're going to, after they graduate from the clinical, they're going to go seek employment in the US. It makes no sense, because they go to these hospitals in the US, they do their clinicals there, and then they get absorbed into the workforce. So again, who is this hospital being built for? And eventually, who will be the owner of it? These are all questions that our government needs to let us know. You can't just come and paint it with a big broad brush like it's all hunky-dory. No, there are some of us that understand the system and have genuine question. Maybe the vast majority of Grenadians, they feel, don't know what's going on. But, I went through the school system in the United States of America. I lived there for 30 years, over 30 years. So you kind of have an understanding. And quite a few Grenadians also have that understanding. But the picture being painted it's a glorious one, and it's all good, and we just like in la la la. No, the question has to be asked now, and accountability has to be undertaken by our administration.
So, Ollivierre, we due for a break. Let's take it. When we come back, we certainly have much more to, of course, to offer to our listeners and viewers this morning. We also give them the option of course, if they want to highlight any question to you. So when we come back in the next segment, 15 minutes moving out before the top. 10, let's take that break. When we come back, much more. Stay with us. It's To The Point here, Classic Radio, GBN TV.
Grenada, it's time to give praise while having fun and extraordinary family time. As PAWI, P-A-W-I, Grenada District presents Sports and Family Fun Day, Saturday, May 31st, 2025. Lasajas Playing Field in St. David. It's going to be an exciting day filled with athletics, cricket, football, dominoes, cards, draft, and many more. There's always amazing deals. Flea market will be available together with a variety of eats and drinks on sale. Activity starts at 10 a.m., 10 in the morning, and goes until 6 p.m. Come out and be part of this wonderful day of fellowship as PAWI, Grenada District Sports and Family Fun Day. Saturday, 31st May. Don't miss out.
GBN presents the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, Saturday, June 7th, Montrouge Plain Field from 11 a.m. Our partners, Maggie, the secret of great flavor, Grenada Distillers Limited, makers of Clark's Court, Grenada's #1 rum, Grenada Paper Products, makers of Cherish, Spring Soft, Harbour Bay, and Super Value Toilet Paper, and Royal, Quick and Easy, and Horizon Paper Towels, Budget Foods Inc., Classic Lighting, and Blue Bubbles PA Rental and Event Supplies. It's the 2025 Maggie King of the Grill, where flavor rules.
I beat that, don't stop like Bob Marley said. One love on top. BCUH water out of sight, but it's always wrong, don't lose the light. From factories and wells so deep, corrupts mangroves and fish.
Welcome back, listeners. Welcome back, viewers, to The Point, Classic Radio, GBN TV. And this segment, as I promised before the break, that's where we're going to, of course, invite our listeners and viewers. If you do have a question or two, you may like to ask, of course, our guest this morning. That's Mr. Of course, Nimrod Ollivierre, representing, of course, the new national party, which is the opposition party in Grenada this morning. Feel free to do so in this segment. I beg of you to keep your contribution as short as possible so that we could accommodate as much callers as possible also. So let's say, good Mr. Ollivierre, welcome back once again. Welcome back, and let's entertain to our first caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, and you're welcome. Let's hear from you.
Oh, good morning, GT. Good morning, Mr. Nimrod. Mr. Nimrod, I'm listening to you, and you sound like another cartoon and another of the playbook of NNP. I want to ask you a question. Is Kings County in Brooklyn a teaching hospital? And my second question to you, you said that Ron ain't doing nothing. Mr. Nimrod, you is unbelievable. Look at the post. Last week, or week before, the Prime Minister and Ron was out in the field after 10 o'clock in the night. And my second question to you, there is a post on your page where you said that Peter David owe you money. And then you want your money and you're coming after him. Could you explain it in detail? What money you're talking about and what Peter David owed? And then the last thing I want to ask
for some reason, caller,
you said about some of the project.
Caller, one sec, please. For some reason, caller, good morning. For some reason, we're having a little issue in terms of Mr. Ollivierre hearing. I'm not sure the reason why. From my point, I'm seeing everything that looks okay. I'm not sure why he's not hearing you. But let me, Mr. Ollivierre, I know if you're hearing me pretty okay. Let me tell the caller did. The caller did.
Perfectly. I heard the first question about Kings County. And
yes, he was asking the question if Kings County, if it's a teaching hospital, he'd be asking that question.
So in short, no, Kings County is not a teaching hospital. It's a hence the name, Kings County. Kings is Brooklyn, that's the county name. So it's a city hospital. The Downstate Hospital, which is opposite of Kings County, is a teaching hospital. So you have Kings County on one side, Downstate Hospital is on the other side. Downstate Hospital is a teaching hospital, but not Kings County.
Okay. He did have a second question in relation to, of course, if you are seeing some of the projects that the current MP for the constituency has been having, of course, in terms of meetings that he's been having together with the Prime Minister, if you haven't noticed that in comparison to the statement you made earlier on. That's the second question.
Like I said, we started the conversation based on me going through the constituency and interacting with the constituency. So if the caller feels otherwise and he disagrees with what the constituents were saying, him and I can set up an appointment and we can walk through the constituency together, and he'll be able to see live and direct what's taking place within the constituency.
Right.
And bring some clarity because obviously he's going from what he's hearing, and I'm going from what's being said to me and from what I'm seeing actually within the constituency. Big difference.
Okay, we do have another caller. I think we may have lost that caller there. 435-2041, 435-2041. That's the number. If you have a question or two you may like to ask the guest this morning, feel free to do so.
JT, I don't know if you heard that part. In the breakup, I heard him say something about my page and something on my page about.
Yes, he did. Oh, yes. I think I forgot to ask you that one. He did ask a question in relation via your Facebook page or something, and you relating to the Honorable Peter David having own you money or the sort, and on reasonable reasons for that.
So again, the caller is probably repeating or being delusional. There's absolutely nothing on none of my Facebook page or Instagram or whatever alluding to Peter David and owing me money. So he's repeating something that he heard, and it's just not factual. I have nothing on my Facebook page alluding to that. Now, if there was something, I'm not sure if him and I are friends or if he has my number. If somebody said they see something on WhatsApp, yes, I did put something on WhatsApp as it regards to that. But there's nothing in social media as we know it, Facebook and Instagram and all of that pertaining to that.
Okay, good. We do have another caller. Caller, you're live. Good morning. You're welcome.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning to you.
Question to Ollivierre. Concerning that hospital, do you ever listen when the Prime Minister is speaking about that hospital and terms and conditions?
Again, if I may interrupt, just make sure you get the question because I'm having a very hard time hearing the caller. So
okay, go right ahead, caller. I'm listening.
You'll get the question and then you'll...
Do you ever listen when the Prime Minister is speaking about this hospital and terms and conditions? Do you ever? Because I heard you make a statement which I say you're totally wrong concerning you want the hospital to be the old one to get things from now. The Prime Minister is said in his statement that any partnership is from the old one now they want. Not when the new one, the old one from now.
Okay, caller. Thank you. Thank you so much. He was asking if you have heard to the statements from the Prime Minister in reference to, of course, the new hospital, in reference to that. And he's saying, I hope I'm able to give you word for word, because he had a little device running in the background, which just kind of muffling his song a wee bit.
Yes.
And he was actually saying that, whatever is going to be taking place with the new hospital to come, will of course will always start from the old one that is there now. I'm hoping so. My apology if I didn't get everything you said word for word in, because you had a device that was causing a little bit of disturb in the background. If you'd ever heard what the Prime Minister did mention that relates to the new hospital we built and in current running with the new one, the old one that is there right now, something of that nature.
Well, GT, make it make sense. Sometimes, we repeat and we support a party and we tend to want to repeat talking points without even understanding the talking points. First of all, what we have right now in terms of the general hospital is existing right now. We do know that what the minister said, the Minister of Health said, that they campaigned on making healthcare better in Grenada. But in his undertaking, as Minister of Health, healthcare has not improved in Grenada since the last election. Those are not my words. That's the Minister of Health that said that, right? Now, again, I said the hospital that we are talking about is projected to be built out in 15 years. So I'm trying to understand what the caller's saying, and I made allusion to that. I didn't hear what the Prime Minister said because the press conference for Operation Polaris, the Prime Minister was not at that press conference, right? So what are we to do? Wait 15 years for improvement in healthcare? Because it makes no sense. Whether or not you're going to incorporate what is there now with the new hospital, you have to start by fixing the issues and the problems with the current hospital. And right now, healthcare is on a decline since this administration came into office. Those were the words of the Minister of Health. There's no medication. There's no service, supplies, right? Let's start with those two. Let's start by improving that. Let's start by improving the the medicine and the supplies. Let's start making it comfortable so that we don't lose lives and limbs because of the lack of these services. I fail to see how we could tie what we have now into what we're going to get. It's like we're living in an illusion. Let's fix what we have now, and then you could morph the two. You can't have a dilapidated condition right now and you want to morph it into a state-of-the-art enterprise. It's not going to work, sir. It definitely would not work. And I'm quite sure Mount Sinai will advise or have already advised our administration of that. And hence the reason why I'm saying our administration, our government, owes us, the citizenry, explanation. Because when you have persons like this caller that doesn't even understand how this thing works and is calling on a program to give that input, shows that the government is taking advantage by some in the community by putting these broad statements out there, and people interpret it in how they want and pretty much comes up with their own conclusion. So yes, sir, I hold it dearly and I stand by my thinking that we need to put resources into what we have now. This administration campaigned on it. They didn't campaign on a new hospital. They campaigned on making the health care that we currently have, making it better. The minister says it has not improved in 2 years. I don't know how much longer we have to wait for improvement, but definitely 15 years is not a good benchmark.
We do have another caller. Caller via WhatsApp. Good morning, you're live. Let's hear from you, please.
Good morning, Mr. DT, and good morning to you, Mr. Ollivierre.
Morning.
Morning, sir. And I first want to start my precursor by saying that I really thought that you would have would have been contesting that seat on the Northwest, since your area. I mean, I know you back in GBSS, and from what I know you back in GBSS, I know you from the Northwest area, not the Northeast. So hearing that you're running for the Northeast, it sounds kind of strange to me. We grew up in GBSS. You were a form ahead of me, I believe, in the same form together with my brother. So I know you quite well. Now, I must indeed start with what the caller would have said in regards to you would have made mention of the Minister of Health saying that healthcare in Grenada has not improved in Grenada. He said to his expectations. He did not say that it did not improve. If you quote him word for word. Now, if you also listen to him when he did speak on the healthcare issue in regards to the budget, he did lay out certain things that was done in regards to they would have gone on and would have actually computerized the whole pharmacy system so that ensuring that medications would be there on time and that they wouldn't have a lapse of medication. There were a number of different things that he laid out in the budget. And I did take note of them. And I did find that in order to solve the problem, it's not just putting a tape on a wound that might go deep in, but it's actually looking at the whole problem and systematically solving the problem. Now, I mean, I work with the healthcare system in the U.S., and so I know practically a lot of what you might be saying. I'm quite aware of it. given the fact that that the alignment that they're trying to do here with Mount Sinai Hospital, I think it would be a betterment for Grenada in total. I think that Grenada would benefit and benefit by and far largely. I also think that it would assist the economy, and the economy does not just basically leap into existence and create that productive sector if it's not being funded previously. So the problems that we're having now with the economic sector is because it wasn't funded before, and that all that was happening was that a tape was placed on a deep wound, and that deep wound still there and lingers. And when you have those problems, these are the things that actually happen to cause the problems that you're now seeing. It's not just a tape. It has to go deeper than that. You have to get to the root of the problem, take the root out of the problem, and then you're able to fix it. It's not just a quick fix. It's not just a slapdash measure. It's not just giving somebody something. Why is it that the youths on the pond block every day? Why is it that they want to go in and just do gambling?
Cole, I'm going to ask you to take another 10 seconds and wrap, please. Drew, for time's sake, please.
Sure, yeah, I'm wrapping. The problem of the youth is not no. The problem of the youth being where they are on the block is because it would have been previously not addressed. And their solution, they're not seeing a solution. They didn't see a solution then, and they're not seeing, and therefore, that is why they're on the blocks today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, caller. I appreciate your contribution today. I respond to the caller, Ms. Ollivierre, and then we get some closing contributions from you. We're a bit over time this morning already.
To the caller, and thank him for remembering our school days in the greatest secondary school, the greatest boys' secondary school on the island. The GBSS is near and dear to my heart. What I would say too, I mean, the caller again raised some very interesting balance point, and I think he approached it with understanding of what. But the only thing I will say to him, before I get to that, yes, caller, yes, you probably may have known me growing up in Grand Mall, but I was born actually in Mardi Gras. Mardi Gras is part of St. George's Northeast. My roots, my mother is from Mardi Gras, a big clan in Mardi Gras. From by the river, go all the way up. So my biological mom, that's my roots. So I spent the first, year or so in Mardi Gras, and then she met my dad. Well, when my dad moved her to Fontenoy at first, the Point, and then to Grand Mall. But I was born in Mardi Gras. So let me just get that out there. The other thing I will say to the caller is that talk is cheap. Yes, it's one thing to talk about something, and you very well know the practicality of it is a whole different thing. So while the Minister of Health, and you said maybe I didn't quote him properly, and you speak of in his expectation, but he's the minister. So he's the highest level line officer for that ministry. So if in his expectation it did not do well, then what are we supposed to say? Because he's the barometer. He's the top. He's the top guy. The top. Where does the buck stop? So he's saying that in his expectation it did not improve. Well, who am I at a lower level to say it improved in my explanation? No, he's the one that has to report to the Prime Minister and report to the nation. And he said he didn't see no improvement. Whether it's his expectation or his reality, his expectation could only be spoken of based on the reality that he's seeing. And so, look, it's a whole open discussion, and no one, I am not standing here or sitting here saying we don't need improved healthcare. We absolutely do, and I welcome it. And all I am saying is that we have to be open with our citizens and let them know so that people do not have false expectation. If you work in the healthcare in the United States of America, and you know how expensive it is, we know that. We know what local Grenadians can afford. We know what those of us that lived in the United States and have health care. GT, let me just share this. and the caller would very much understand. I appreciate.
I hope it will be brief, sir, because we drew for time. We drew for time.
I know we're wrapping up. I had an accident in NYPD sometime in like 2011, and I was hospitalized. The first 3 weeks in the hospital, GHI was billed by that hospital for $300 and something thousand US. I spent 2 months in the hospital. Do the maths. The first 3 weeks, my insurance was billed $300 and something thousand US. So remember I said earlier on, medical is very expensive, and good medical is even more expensive. I don't know if you want me to go into closing right now, GT, or if you have a question pertaining to...
Well, I reckon that we get into some closing if you make some closing remarks, and then we take a wrap for today.
GT, I just want to say that, if our government or administration comes to us as we have some sense and talks to us, I think they will get a lot of support. We have to keep our eyes focused on what's going on the ground, because at the end of the day, we see a lot of things going on. There's a lot of indiscriminate spending going on in our economy, and our citizens are hurting. So maybe if we cut back on some of those things, we could take measures that would help the citizenry, help them economically, help them health-wise, and then maybe the government, rather than looking for the love and the likes by posting videos, will get the true, genuine love and likes, because the citizens would be able to feel it on the ground. But right now, I can tell you specifically from my constituency, or the constituency that the New National Party has me taking care of right now, St. George Northeast, they are complaining of a lot of things, not seeing the MP, the economy is hard, things are hard, they're feeling victimized, they can't talk, they can't say what's really on their mind, and these are some of the things that we need to work on if we want to have a Grenada for all. Grenada does not belong to NNP, Grenada does not belong to NDC, it does not belong to the movement. Grenada belongs to each and every one of us, because we all pay our fair share of taxes, and we deserve to get the benefits from whichever administration is in power.
Mr. Ollivierre, I want to thank you once again for being on today's edition of The Point. As usual, it's always a pleasure to have you, sir. And until we have another opportunity, once again, have yourself a great day and best wishes, sir.
Thank you very much to you and your listeners for giving me another opportunity to have some conversation.
Thank you once again. Hey, folks, that's where we take a wrap for this edition of To The Point for today. Join me again tomorrow for another edition. That's what we say goodbye for today.